Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here today looking at Sentient, designed by J. Alex Kevern, published by Renegade Game Studios, in which 2 to 4 players will be collecting sentient robots in the future. Well, in the future because I'm recording this now and you're not playing at the moment. So, in the future, along those lines. The robots come in different types, and you are trying to collect them, show that you know how to use them properly, and can program them to get the most out of them, which is represented by points. And ideally, along the way, you will collect investors who have faith in what you're doing, and then you'll pair them with the robots you've collected and get bonus points at the end of the game. How does this work? Here's a setup for Sentient showing the common area to all players at top and one example of a player's board at the bottom with their agents, assistants, and supplemental player marker, along with dice that you will roll at the start of a round and place on the matching colors on your board. You have 5 different types of robots. You lay out 4 at random, along with investors above them. And throughout each of the game's 3 rounds, you will be collecting 4 robots in each round, so for a total of 12, and then you will sum up all your points at the end. How do you get these robots? Well, on a turn, you are going to take one of 2 actions. One thing you can do is pass. You can only do that once during a round. You take your supplemental marker, you put it on the stack for the next round. If there's someone already there, you put it on top. And you throw away all the robots that are there and get new ones. Clearly, you're passing because you're dissatisfied with your choices. If you've already taken all 4 of your robots, well, you just pass and that's it. You don't get to mess with other people by screwing up their choices here. If you don't want to pass, you're going to take one of your agents and possibly one or more assistants. It's up to you. And then you are going to place them above the card that you want. And when you do that, you are placing that agent between 2 investors, and they're going to exhibit influence over those investors at the end of the round. So you take a card, you place it then between 2 dice of your choice. So for example, I can put this here, and you have modifiers possibly at the top of the card. You might have a negative sign, a positive sign, or an equal sign. If there's a positive sign, then you raise the value of a die. If it's a negative, you go down. If you're at 6 and you go up, you circle around to 1. So put the military robot here. I change the value of the dice. I've got a 2 and 3. Oh, hey. And what am I trying to do with these dice? I'm trying to program the robots properly. So I need to sum the 2 dice, and it has to be less than or equal to 5, which is true in this case. So if these dice do not change, or if this statement is still valid at the end of the game, the round, I will then score 4 points because that's what it says on the card. And some new robot comes out in its place. So each of the 5 types of robots has a different scoring condition, and you may or may not want them depending on what's there. Oh, hey, maybe in a later turn, right? Other people are going to do things. They're going to put their pieces out here, and maybe now I want this industry robot. I need both of my dice to be odd. If I placed it here, this equal sign means I don't touch that die. This negative sign means I would lower the 1 to a 6. Which means it's not odd, which means I would not score 3 points. However, you can use your assistant to block the action of a card. Now this die does not change at this moment. So it'll stay at a 1, both are odd. I will score 3 points depending on what else happens in the rest of the round. Okay. Maybe later on, more people go, they take different actions. And maybe I get this service bot here. I will score 8 points minus the sum of my 2 dice. Well, I'm happy to have this one go down to 3, but I want to block this one again. Okay. Eventually, I'm going to end up with 4 cards. Let's say I get this one as well. And everyone else will have 4 cards, and the round ends. You then sum up the value of the points you get for your cards. Before we do that, let me look at this area up here. Each of us will have placed 4 agents, like so, possibly with some investors as well. And you then look at the influence that's placed on each of the investors here. There's 2 gray and there's 2 yellow, but here there's actually 2 gray agents, which are better than just an agent and an assistant, some flunky here. So the gray player would get this military token, and the yellow just gets a point. Here, yellow has 3 influence, gray and white each have 2, so yellow gets this, and gray would get this for having more agents. If there's a tie on agents, you then look at turn order. And these tokens will all be handed out to the various players. As for the cards themselves, you'll look and see, pretend I did this here. These 2 numbers are even, and that's what I need in order to get 5 points. These sum to 5 or less. These are both odd. These, subtract 4 from 8, I get 4 points. So sum, I get 16 points across the board here. I take all these cards, put them on the side, take 16 points worth of tokens, add it to any other tokens I got from the investor grabbing round. I take any investor tokens I have, I can put them up here to keep track of all the investors that I have. And the second and third rounds are conducted the exact same way. I'm going to get 4 robots, I'll collect more investors, I'll get some more points, and then at the end of the game, I'm going to have some collection of investors here, with me collecting more investors in a 2-player game than a 3 or 4-player game. That's just how it works, with more competition, with more players. And then I'm going to take my 12 cards, and each card is worth as many points as the number of investors I have. So clearly I want to be collecting military and information cards in order to get more points. Each of those are worth 2 for me. The service and industry are worth 1, and the teleport, well, I got points from them during the round, but otherwise nothing. You then sum up the points, and whoever has the most points wins. And there's an overview of Sentient, which I played twice now on a review copy from Renegade Game Studios, once with 2 players, once with 3. As I described the game to one of my opponents initially, he said, this seems like a very Feldian design. He's a huge fan of Bora Bora, and he was immediately attracted to the dice manipulation that you have in order to score things. So he liked that little element of it, and having played twice now, yes, I can see where he's coming from. This is like 1/3 of a Stefan Feld design, where that would be one element in this larger picture where you are manipulating dice in order to get cards, in order to get points, but you'd probably be doing something else with all these things too. You'd be using investor tokens for some other control aspect of the future, and then use the robots and you grind them up for parts, or I don't know what you do. There'd be all these other things going down. Sentient, by comparison, is a very stripped down set collection game in which you're just trying to maximize your points each round. That's all you're trying to do. We've had rounds in which people got 19 and 20 points by getting things exact. Those information bots, they just have a single number on them. And if you get that number on one of your dice, you get 2 points. If you get on both dice, you get 7 points. So you can definitely have rounds in which you just get good flops. You have something with your board with 2 4s, information bot pops up with a 4 on it, boom, you get 7 points as long as you have the assistance to keep those 4s there and not have them messed up. So you got the wildness of the dice, which don't really affect how many points you can score, because the cards let you score the same number of points whether the dice are good or bad. Often you are trying to have just even dice, or one side is higher than the other, or it just matches this number. Or then the service ones are, you have some number minus the higher of your dice, or the lower of your dice, or you have the sum of your dice minus something else. So you've got some way to manipulate things and ideally get the cards that are going to work with the numbers you have. But you still have the randomness of the cards flopping over, and you may just get something great for you, and maybe you're going to pass and clear the board and just nothing comes up, and you just have to suck it up and be sad at what you're getting. One odd little element as well of Sentient is, look at this cover, and of course the wild colors, great look to it. It's immediately just popping off the shelf, attracting you to it. You cannot help but think of Pris from Blade Runner, just with that sort of glowing look about her. And then you actually play and you're like, wait a minute. She's a waitress. That's it. I wanted more. I wanted more with these robots coming in from the future and doing something dramatic. I'm not normally a theme guy. I usually am just focused on the head down with what are the mechanisms of the game and how I'm going to do all these various things. And yet here, I really wanted more. I wanted something futuristic in which I was doing here. So I want that other 2/3 of the Feld game in which this is a part of. Put this all together and get something really monstrous. Something for the future, maybe. We'll see what happens. For now, here's Sentient.